Water Affairs and Sanitation will be hosting an infrastructure investment summit later this month. This collaborative effort between the department and the Water Research Commission is coming at a time when parts of the country are facing drought. Well, let's discuss this further, the objectives of that summit with Water Research Commission CEO Dhesigen Naidoo. He's live to us from our studio in Pretoria. Mr. Naidoo, good morning and thank you very much. What do you hope to achieve with this summit? What will be the main thing that you really want to get out of it?
Good morning, Dan, and good morning to your viewers. We're looking at the summit as a major start to a larger process. We're wanting to bring together the investment community, the practitioners and the managers of water in our system, as well as major new components of the private sector, to organize to work out a partnership around ensuring our future water security and, of course, industrializing the water sector in South Africa.
Now, to industrialize, you need lots of investment. How do you plan to stimulate investment in terms of infrastructure in the water sector?
Well, you know, Dan, this is the nature of the conversation. One is that we are facing a very new climate world. We're referring to this as the new normal. Erratic patterns, generally drier. Even when there is rain, it rains intensely and in floods. So our infrastructure has to be completely different. The second is that we know that we need to be using a lot less than we currently do, but you need a technology base and a solutions base to enable that. So what we're doing in the conference is we're unpacking what this prospectus is for South Africa. What are these bankable projects that we have inside our system? And then we're inviting the investment community and the private sector folk to be very explicit about the constraints that they currently see to the investment. And then we're going to work out solutions together around that, push through those bankable projects, and hopefully see the industrialization of water in South Africa and in Africa coming out as the major strategy from the summit.
The Water and Sanitation Minister, Nomvula Mkonyane, yesterday when she was briefing the media about this, she mentioned a couple of things. I mean, three of them stood out for me. One is that we as a country are spoiled in terms as how we use water. As you said just now, we are really overusing compared to the global average. And then also the issue of irrigation solutions. Maybe that's where technology can play its part. And finally, she said, we must keep politics and water separate.
Well, yes, Dan. Let's just work on the efficiency envelope. As a country, we use 235 liters of water per person per day. This is not your personal use and my personal use, but what the system uses overall divided by the number of us that are here. The global average is 177. So this is the fat in the system, if you like. But we also need to move from volunteer wasteful use to involuntary wasteful use. And this is where all the solutions come to play. We have new toolboxes of things like new irrigation technologies that can organize for us to use up to half of the water we currently use for irrigation. This is also true for most of the industrial sectors that we have. And then on the back of that, we have new sanitation solutions. I mean, some of the things we develop in South Africa are leading the world. We can organize to use 30% less water in every household by just switching our sanitation. But these products are not readily available in the market. This is where we need the private sector folk to come in, to start up these manufacturing bases, because we are not the only people that need it. 2/3 of the world is in dire need of these very technologies just to meet the SDGs. So the opportunities are simply enormous.
Now, I understand the country needs about 40 billion rand to deal with the backlog in water infrastructure. You are bringing all these people together and hoping for partnerships. And after you finish the summit, how are you going to be tracking to ensure that, firstly, we do achieve the investment that is required, and secondly, that it is in the right places, in the appropriate areas that will benefit us?
Well, Dan, that's the perfect question, and that is where the design of this summit is a little bit different from the various other summits that we've had in many sectors in the country. What we've built in is a 12-month stewardship process that comes out of the summit, because in the summit, I am sure We're going to generate a lot of excitement. I'm sure we're going to organize for the connections around the right kinds of partnerships, but we're setting out this 12-month process so that we have many focused events going into the future in the next 12 months to actually concretize that deal flow and provide the support systems to these new partnerships. And I must be explicit that these partnerships are not just public-private in South Africa, they're also local and international, because we're looking at a global market for these products. We also want to draw down the best practices from everywhere else in the world to ensure our own water security. So Brand SA, for example, is a major partner in this initiative.
Okay, thank you very much. We wish you well with that summit on the 30th of November. I'm sure we'll hear more of the outcomes of it afterwards. Water Research Commission Chief Executive Officer Dhesigen Naidoo. 16 after 8, let's remind you of our headlines this morning on eNCA. Disgraced former Minister Mduduzi Manana is expected to be sentenced after being found guilty of assault. Jacques Poe, the author of The President's Keepers, will know today whether SARS and the State Security Agency will be suing him. The former public protector, Thuli Madonsela, says President Jacob Zuma must be part of a proposed inquiry into state capture. Well, state capture is sort of center stage again in Parliament today, with the Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises resuming its inquiry into Eskom and the mismanagement of state funds at state-owned enterprises today. It is not yet clear who will be testifying today, but the Portfolio Committee will be calling former Eskom executives. Our colleague, eNCA's Annika Larsen, is joining us now from outside Parliament ahead of those hearings. Annika, good morning. Well, the Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises